Number 10. Tahini Toast, the 2-minute 12. 2 tablespoons of whole grain tahini on wholemeal toast gives around 12 grams of protein plus a serious dose of calcium for about 80 cents and 2 minutes. Across the Middle East, tahini with date syrup or molasses on bread is an ordinary breakfast. In the West, we have decided tahini belongs only in hummus, which is a genuine loss. If mornings are stiff, if your hands are not working well until the second cup of tea, a breakfast requiring only a knife is worth knowing. There is no chopping, no pan, and no timing. On the days when nothing works, having a 2-minute option with real protein and calcium prevents the day starting with toast and jam by default. There is a crucial distinction here, because unhulled or whole grain tahini carries around 970 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams, while the pale hulled version loses roughly 90% of that along with the hull it was sitting in. The dark, more bitter jar is dramatically more nutritious and usually costs no more. Pairing it with blackstrap molasses adds iron and a further dose of calcium in the same mouthful. Sesame is a significant allergen, and sesame allergy is increasingly recognized, so treat it carefully if it is new to you. Buy whole grain unhulled tahini, stir it thoroughly because it separates hard, and spread it thickly with a drizzle of molasses or honey. A jar costs about $6 and lasts weeks. Add a glass of milk or a boiled egg to push the meal past 20 grams. The next 4 are dairy, starting with the cheapest high-protein thing in the fridge. Number 11. Quark on rye, the cheap 20. A generous serving of quark on 2 slices of rye bread gives around 20 grams of protein for about $1 in 3 minutes with no cooking. Quark is a fresh, unaged cheese carrying 12 to 14 grams of protein per 100 grams at roughly half the price of the fashionable high-protein yogurts. Germany and Eastern Europe eat it daily. If you have looked at the high-protein dairy pots and quietly decided they were too expensive, quark is the same nutrition in an unmarketed tub. It sits in the same fridge, usually costs half as much, and behaves identically. Knowing the unfashionable version of a fashionable product is worth real money across a year on a fixed income. Most of the protein in quark is casein, which digests slowly and releases amino acids over several hours, extending fullness well past what a fast-digesting breakfast manages. The straining process also removes most of the lactose along with the whey, which makes it considerably easier for the many people who find ordinary milk troublesome after 50. It carries calcium and phosphorus alongside the protein, which is the specific combination bone tissue is actually built from. So it does 2 jobs in 1 tub. Spread it thickly, then top with cucumber, radish, and dill for a savory version, or with berries and a little honey if you prefer it sweet. A tub costs about $1.80 and lasts a week in the fridge. Look near the yogurt in the dairy aisle or in Polish and German grocers, where it is usually cheaper still. The next one is Italian, soft, and the easiest thing to eat when chewing is hard. Number 12. Ricotta Toast, the no-chew 18. Half a cup of ricotta on toast gives around 18 grams of protein for about $1.20 in 2 minutes, and the texture requires almost no chewing at all. Ricotta is made from the whey left after other cheeses, cooked a second time, which is what the name means. It is the one cheese built mostly from whey rather than casein. If chewing is difficult, if you are recovering from dental work, or if you are caring for someone whose appetite has collapsed, this matters enormously. 18 grams of protein needing no chewing and no cooking is genuinely hard to find. Protein requirements rise during recovery precisely when eating is hardest, and soft, high-protein foods carry disproportionate weight then. Whey protein is unusually rich in leucine, the amino acid that acts as the trigger switch for muscle building, and older muscle needs a distinctly higher leucine dose than young muscle to respond at all. This is well established in the sarcopenia research literature, and it is exactly why whey-rich foods punch above their weight after 60. Ricotta delivers that leucine as ordinary food rather than as a powder in a tub, which for most people over 60 is a considerably easier thing to actually keep doing. Spread it thick, savory with tomato, olive oil, and pepper, or sweet with honey and lemon zest. A tub costs about $3 and does not keep long, so buy small. Full fat has far better texture, and the difference in calories is trivial at this portion. Right after this, the breakfast you drink when you cannot face eating. Number 13, the Kefir Smoothie, the one you can drink. A cup of kefir blended with berries and a spoon of milk powder gives around 18 to 20 grams of protein for about $1.50 in 90 seconds. Kefir also carries 10 to 30 different microbial strains, several times the variety in ordinary yogurt. It began in the Caucasus Mountains, fermented from grains passed down through families. If you genuinely cannot face food in the morning, and a great many people over 70 cannot, drinking your protein is not a compromise. It is the practical answer. Liquid empties from the stomach faster and feels far less confronting than a plate. The addition of a spoon of skimmed milk powder is the trick that turns a smoothie from a snack into a real breakfast. Kefir ferments with both bacteria and yeasts together, which gives it a genuinely broader microbial range than yogurt, and several of those strains survive stomach acid to reach the colon alive. Human trials have reported improvements in lactose digestion and in some markers of gut function, though the research is smaller and more scattered than the marketing suggests. Gut bacterial diversity declines measurably with age and with every course of antibiotics, and food cultures are the gentlest and cheapest way to feed it back. Blend a cup of kefir, a handful of frozen berries, and 2 tablespoons of skimmed milk powder, which is the cheapest protein addition in any supermarket. A liter of kefir costs about $3. Start with half a cup if your gut is sensitive, because a full glass can be lively at first. The next one is strained so hard it is technically a cheese. Number 14, the Skyr Bowl, the Viking 22. A large pot of Skyr with seeds and fruit gives around 22 grams of protein for about $2, in 1 minute with no cooking. Skyr is technically a soft cheese rather than a yogurt, strained so heavily that roughly 4 cups of milk go into 1 cup of Skyr, which is exactly why the protein is so concentrated. Iceland has made it since the Norse settlements. If routine is what makes your mornings work, and for many people it is, this is the most reliable 22 grams available. Same pot, same spoon, same 90 seconds, every day. There is a tendency in food advice to prize variety, but for anyone whose energy or memory is unpredictable, a breakfast that never changes and never fails is worth more than an interesting one. Skyr is high in casein, which gives a slow and sustained amino acid release across the morning, and the heavy straining removes most of the lactose along with the whey. Research on fermented dairy in older adults has generally found favorable associations with both bone density and muscle mass, though observational studies can never fully separate the food from the whole diet around it. Choose plain rather than flavored because the flavored pots can carry as much sugar as a dessert while costing more per gram of protein. Buy plain and add your own fruit and a spoon of seeds. A large tub costs about $3 and gives 3 breakfasts, which works out cheaper than individual pots. It keeps a fortnight unopened. The next 5 are savory and mostly come from the sea. Number 20, the Cottage Cheese Bowl, the 2-minute 28, and this is the one I promised at the beginning. A full cup carries around 25 to 28 grams of protein, comfortably clearing the threshold your muscle needs from a single meal for about $1 in 2 minutes with no cooking, no pan, and no washing up beyond a bowl. It is simply milk curds drained of most of their whey, and it fell out of fashion for no reason other than diet trends moving on. Of everything in this video, this is the one I would actually start with. It requires nothing of you on a bad morning, it clears 30 grams if you add a spoon of seeds, and it costs about $1. When the goal is a habit you keep for years rather than a fortnight, the winner is almost always the easiest option that still works, not the best one. Most of the protein in cottage cheese is casein, which digests slowly and releases amino acids over several hours, rather than all at once. Studies on casein eaten in the evening have found it supports overnight muscle repair, and the same slow release extends fullness through a morning. It also carries calcium and phosphorus, the pear bone is actually built from. Choose plain rather than flavored tubs, which are mostly sugar. Eat it savory with tomato, olive oil, and black pepper, or sweet with fruit, and add a tablespoon of seeds to clear 30 grams. A large tub costs about $2.50 and gives 3 breakfasts. If the texture puts you off, blend it smooth and it becomes something else entirely, closer to a thick cream.